Hi, friends. Welcome to Lunch Break with Kia. I'm Kia Stevens, and this is where we go live every Wednesday at 12 noon ish. We're spot on today, and I go live here because I want to encourage the hearts of women one word at a time. And so we've been in a series on everything you need to know about counseling. Do I need counseling? The whole kit and caboodle. So I've invited my friend Hope Venetta here. I think there's an alarm that goes off every time I go live. It just alerts that Key is going live, so we should sound the alarm. But let me just share a little bit about Hope, just in case you don't know who she is. I'm introducing her to some, and you're familiar, others you're familiar with her. Hope is a nationally certified counselor with 14 years. That's a long time of experience in the field of mental health, continuing education. Currently, Hope serves as an ABCDEFG, no, LCMHCA.
Yes.
I'll let you translate that for us at
Mhm.
a private group practice in Durham, North Carolina, where she provides therapy to couples and individuals dealing with a diverse range of presenting issues. You can
Mhm.
learn more about Hope at hopevanetta.com/therapy. And I have included a link to Hope's website info in the description section of this video. So, with that said, let's go ahead and dive in. Well, tell us about the letters behind your name first.
Yeah. I'm a licensed clinical mental health counseling associate and a national certified counselor.
Okay, awesome. So I imagine that means there's some more tests and protocols that you had to take in order to get those letters.
Yes, absolutely. In addition to my time in graduate school and serving in an internship for several years to make sure that the lessons stuck, and taking several examinations, which is how I ended up with my license. And you can check the last session that I was here with Kia to see what like my license and several other licenses mean, or you can find alphabet soup decoder on my website.
I love that. Okay, because we totally need one. So last week, Hope, I talked about free therapy. And
Okay.
so this session today is all about what to do while you wait. So I imagine some of the content that we talk about, that I talked about last week, and some of what we talk about this week will, there'll be a blur between the two episodes, but that's okay because repetition is good.
Mhm.
And the other thing I was going to say, that was just from my perspective as a receiver of counseling. So it'll be interesting to get your take on what people can do while they wait. But I wanted to say, I researched this on Google, and there were a ton of hits. There's a ton of articles that have been written about what people can do while they're waiting to see a therapist if they're on a wait list. And I found this quote that I wanted to share. It says, current trends in mental health, even on a national level, are showing that there are not enough mental health providers for the number of people that are seeking counseling. In addition, the rates of anxiety and depression likely linked to the pandemic or byproducts of the pandemic are increasing. So my question to you, just to get us going, is for these people that are saying, yes, I need some help, I
Mhm.
need Jesus and I need some help. And
Mhm.
then they go to get the help, and then they realize they're going to have to be on a wait list maybe a month out, 2 months out, 3 months out. In your professional opinion, what should people be doing while they wait?
Hmm. Well, waiting can be tough. It can be sort of like a crucible of really reaching out to what I call your existential anchors. I ask all of my clients, no matter what their faith background or tradition is, what is it for you that helps you get through life? For some people, it is faith. And for some people, it is nature or dance or some other kind of movement or music, to really dig into those things that help you feel grounded and good. Um, the times where I feel most concern is when people don't have any existential anchors, or when their anchors are people. Like, I really depend on my mom or my husband or my children. That's great. However, um, people change, people aren't constant. And so developing that existential anchor is key. Um, did I freeze, Kia?
I think I froze.
Okay. Right.
Alive, you really don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I don't even know what you were saying. I think you were talking about
It was
what
about
where
developing what I call an existential anchor, the thing that helps you get through life. And so while you're waiting to speak with a therapist, cultivate those things that do help you feel grounded. And if those things are things that are not constant, like other people, in that, your group of friends or your spouse or your parent or whatever, um, then that might be an opportunity for you to find out other things that are not changeable, like human beings, that can serve as an anchor for you to do some self-development work.
hmm And now the alarms are going off in my brain because I'm like, some of my anchors might be a box of Kit Kats or
Mhm.
a bucket of chicken,
Yeah.
and so that whereas that might anchor me, it might not be the most healthy for
Yes.
me
Hmm.
at that time, or for some people it might be a man and that's not
Hmm.
your husband, and y'all might be doing some things that are not ordained in the Bible.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
what are your thoughts? Just, maybe reframing that so that the things that you're anchoring to are actually healthy for you and
Hmm.
not going to dig you further into a ditch while you wait on your therapist.
Well, you bring up some excellent points there. A bit of how willing are you to take a hard look at the things that help you get through life. If it is like, I'm going to be drinking a fifth of vodka by the end of this afternoon, you know, I don't think you need to have anybody tell you that that's not healthy. Yeah. Um, because that's way too much alcohol,
Wow.
you know. I don't think that anybody needs to tell you that sleeping with somebody that's not your husband and you are in fact married isn't going to be ultimately good for you. You know, um,
You're
part
saying
part
you
of
think they should already know. They should already know.
well, part of my practice and in working with my clients is that I believe that everybody has everything they need inside them for life and godliness. Whether they are that's for the Christian, but for people who don't follow Christianity or who are not Christians, that doesn't mean that they still don't have the tools inside of them, because we're given those because we're created in the image of God. You know, so is there a willingness, or are we relying on the therapist or somebody externally to help get us on the right path? Part of therapy and making the things that we learn in therapy stick are our own willingness to participate in our healing. Yeah. So,
Ooh, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I definitely hear what you're saying, Hope. I think sometimes for me, um, I do believe I've been made in the image of God, but there are times where I need some outside instruction to
mhm,
say, hey, you know what? If you continue on this path, this is what the particular outcome is going to be, or this is what you're. So let's say that's your thing, to drink a fifth of vodka every time you feel stressed or every time you feel depressed or whatever's going on in your life. This is potentially what the outcome of that could be.
mhm,
Sometimes we need somebody from the outside to say, okay, if this is the route you want to take,
mhm,
this is where that path could possibly most likely lead you. Um,
mhm.
now, I'm not a therapist. Like,
I'm not disagreeing with you.
yeah, I'm not there, so I'm a good friend. But yeah, go ahead, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I'm not disagreeing with you. We're talking about, though, while you're waiting for the therapist, while you're waiting for that external support, what can you do for yourself in making sure that you don't run off the rails, that you don't fall in the ditch? Yeah.
Okay. All right. Ooh, Lord. Or I just don't want nobody to be kept. But my fear is that in doing that, you are going off the rails,
Hmm.
in running to the vodka or running to the man or running to
Mhm.
this. That is,
Mhm.
in fact, you going off the rails, even though you're saying, this is my ex, ex, existential anchor. What did
Mhm. Yeah, existential anchor. So okay, I want to make sure that I'm saying the right thing.
you? Okay.
So when I ask people what their existential anchors are, I had one person yesterday tell me that his existential anchor was fear. And so I asked him, how does that anchor help you live the life that you want to live? And he said it doesn't, because it makes my life small. And so what I mentioned before about, if you have a maladaptive, let's just call it that, existential anchor, whether it's the vodka, the man, the shopping, the food, whatever it is, I think that there is a part of us that knows that these are not serving us. So if your anchor does not serve you for whatever reason, the work is, while you're waiting on a therapist to sort of help come alongside you, set up some guardrails and some scaffolding, to find whatever, something that is going to light a spark to help you begin to think about, what are healthier options for me. If I'm not going, and I really really would like to have that vodka right now, so what are some options for me? For some people, it's, don't drink the whole fifth.
Mm-hmm. I see. I totally see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. I think I want to just put that balance in because I don't know who will be watching.
Mm,
Who will be watching this video. And so I think from your perspective, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, and I know we need to move on to another topic, that people are ultimately going to do what they're going to do. Um, Friends or counselors or therapists or psychiatrists are not in the business of being able to control people and make them
absolutely.
do. All we can do is help people to, you know, weigh the outcome and
Mhm.
think about the decisions that they're making and the possible repercussions or consequences
Yes.
of those actions. So I do understand it in that light. I just wanted to make sure I provided some another little balance to it
Hmm.
because I don't know who will watch this. Okay, so
Sure.
I hope that y'all got all of that. Weigh
Sure.
your decisions. Weigh your decision. If you're saying I'm going to choose the vodka, what the fifth of vodka, please weigh your decisions. Okay, let's keep moving. Let's keep
Yes.
moving.
Yes.
Um, okay, so if a therapist is booked, is that a
Hmm.
good sign? Is that like, oh my gosh, they must be really good? And then how long should you wait to see a therapist?
Well, that depends on what issue that you want to have addressed. Yeah. If you are in the grip of depression and you can't get out of your bed every day, then perhaps that while you do need to be seeking therapy, you may want to seek therapy. Perhaps your first stop is your MD,
Yeah.
because there may not be interventions that your therapist can offer, but your doctor can. Yeah.
Hmm. And then how long is too long to wait?
I mean, if you are in danger of hurting yourself or others, then there are emergency services. So I'm not exactly sure, because it just depends on what your issue is. If it's
Mm-hmm.
some anxiety because you're going through a life transition, you're experiencing grief due to some sort of loss, whether it be a loved one or a life situation, those things are different than feeling like you may want to end your life.
True, true, true. And when you say emergency services, I mean, I guess you're saying 911 if it's at that place.
Or going to a psychiatric hospital to admit yourself, um, or some other type of inpatient care.
Yeah. Okay. Now I have on here another question about telemedicine or a
Mm,
hotline. And I
mm,
did do, I guess it's telemedicine, or maybe it's not telemedicine if you use BetterHelp. And so you're
mhm.
connected with your therapist via Zoom.
Yeah.
But I had an instance, and I should have probably said something, but I just didn't. My therapist totally fell asleep. She
Mm,
she she totally put she didn't fall asleep completely, but you know when you're like on the verge
mhm,
of doing that. And I mentioned that because there is some sort of a disconnect, a bit of a
yeah.
disconnect when you're talking to a person beyond a screen. I imagine for a
Mm,
therapist, like they can't see your mannerisms, they can't see your movements, or did you cross your legs, did you fold your arms, did you
mhm,
look away,
mhm,
different nuances that you might see if you're in the physical presence of a person. You
mhm,
cannot see that if
mhm,
you are connecting with somebody via a screen. What are
mhm,
your thoughts about telemedicine or a
mhm,
hotline, talking to a counselor via a hotline?
mhm. I am so sorry that you had the experience that you had with the
Now, thank you.
person falling asleep on you. That is, you know,
Professional.
yeah. The last time that I was here, I shared with the audience about rights that you have as a client. Um, Also available on the blog to go back and read what your rights are. Um, and when I was here before, I talked about a therapeutic bond, and that bond really is a really high predictor of whether or not the therapeutic relationship is going to work or you're going to get anything out of it. Yeah. And that can be had via telehealth. I have several clients that I see via telehealth and I have never seen them in person. That hasn't stopped them from growing and developing and gaining insights about themselves and their relationships. Um, to your point, there are things that can be lost in translation, but there are some therapists that have had extra training in doing mental health services via distance, whether it be online or on the phone or what have you. Um, that's part of what you need to ask your therapist when you first meet them. Do they have experience doing this? If you have a home life or a work situation that you can't get to a doctor's office, or to go and see your mental health clinician, having someone be able to connect with you even via the phone can be helpful.
Mm,
um, if you need to supplement that with an in-person session every now and again, perhaps you can find a therapist that has evening hours or weekend hours. There have been times where I have seen patients at 6, 7 o'clock at night or on weekends. Just depends on, again, the therapist, and it is a process finding the right one for you. It's almost like the process of trying to find a good hairstylist. It can be really challenging, it can be really frustrating. um, my word to you would be not to quit in the frustration.
yeah, that's good. That I mean, that is so good. And no, I did not have a therapeutic bond with that counselor. I know.
Mm,
I was like, when you're in the session, it's like, is she falling asleep?
mm,
I know this is not happening to me. You're talking to yourself while you're talking to them, like, what is going on? But anyway,
mhm,
she's no longer my therapist.
mhm,
Okay. Talk about group therapy, because
Ooh, I
when
love
I
you.
went and found this, oh, okay, you like that. When I
Mhm,
went when I went and found this article on what to do while you wait, one of the
mhm,
suggestions was group therapy.
mhm,
Um, what are the pros that you can think of in your expert opinion, and what are some of the cons?
Well, a pro would be knowing that you're not alone,
That's a big,
knowing that your
yeah.
issue isn't unique and singular to you, and that there are other people who have experience, not only an experience of being hurt or bogged down by the particular issue, but also having victory and growing. Um, and perhaps even someone can be uh, influenced positively by your overcoming of a particular issue. So the development of community in groups is really one of the healing factors, I think. Um, a con would be, again, to your point, Kia, about is the therapist connecting with the group? Does the therapist let one person just control the group or run roughshod over everybody's feelings? Are there norms in place where everybody comes to the group realizing that, yes, we're going to respect each other, we're going to allow everybody to speak, nothing that happens in the group will be repeated outside the group? All of that, all of those things need to be established early on.
That's good. I think, yeah, once you start adding in, the more people you start adding in to anything, it changes the dynamic significantly. Now you
Mhm.
have thoughts about people's opinion about what I'm saying, and it impacts your vulnerability. Am I able to really be vulnerable? Do I feel safe? um, what do I feel about the way that they are looking at me, or their body language, or just
Mhm.
all of that. But I shared last week how I did go to like a group therapy. It was kind of like a fluke thing because I was in need, and it turned out to be very beneficial. And now this thing, they had all the norms in place,
Mhm.
in terms of how the group functioned and operated. It's a national type group. But where can people find group therapy if
Mhm.
they are interested in that?
Mhm. Um, psychologytoday.com, you can find group therapy. Uh, uh, there are, Kia, would you say that the majority of your watchers are women?
I would hope so. I believe I believe so, yeah. But
Mhm, mhm.
again, with
Well,
YouTube, you don't know.
I ask that because while this isn't therapy per se, there are groups that are offered through an organization called the International Center for Women's Ministries. And they're all over the country and, in fact, the world, and have opportunities for people to, have some sort of uh, community in personal development that could be helpful.
Okay. That sounds awesome. If you guys are interested in group therapy, gonna get you some. Quit
Mhm,
playing. Okay, and now I want to talk about therapy. If you're waiting and you're saying, "Well, let me go over here and see what my church has," because this is a recommendation I gave last week. And now all churches are not equal, and
yeah.
all church therapy is not equal.
Mhm,
So some people might have sister so and so that's very wise, and they put her in there, and some people may have somebody with some alphabets behind
yep.
their name, and they have her working for the church and
Mhm,
curating this
sure.
body of services that they provide for people that need counseling.
Mhm.
What I just want to pick your brain and see, what are your thoughts about therapy in the church as something you can do while you wait.
Yeah. Well, there's all types of ways to get help. And so if you're going to a church and you know that the person isn't a licensed counselor or whatever, I don't necessarily feel that there is any issue with going to getting some peer counseling or any type of lay counseling, or even if the church employs an actual licensed therapist. Um, if the church is where you feel comfortable and where you would like to have your therapy sort of based on biblical principles or whatnot, then what would keep a person from going to their church.
Hmm. I think I'm saying this because I've had two different experiences. I think a lack of training sometimes,
Mm,
and a lack of confidentiality,
mm,
a lack of safeness. Um,
mhm.
so I mean, I always, if I do refer people to the services that are available at their church, I always try to put a disclaimer to say, all churches may not have an awareness of what safe is and what safe is not.
Yeah.
Um, so that people won't blindly walk into it. You're at a place of you're hurting and you're broken and you're really at a 10 in terms of needing some assistance, and then you
Mhm,
could potentially be walking into a wolf's den.
mhm.
Wolves and dens, you know, it could be detrimental. So
Yeah.
that is the mindset that I have because I've seen different things
Mhm.
in terms of how um, careful the church at large is with the hurts
Mhm.
people.
Mhm.
That's where that comes from.
Yeah. Yeah. I keep referencing the last time I was here, but you do sometimes have to think about your mental health services with a frame of caveat emptor, or buyer
What?
beware.
Say that again?
Caveat emptor or buyer beware.
Oh, okay. For y'all educated people out there, you should have known that. Y'all should all know that. Okay. All right. Okay. Now, this was another suggestion I found on this
Mm,
list of things you
yeah.
can do while you wait, and that was self care. But
Yeah.
we hear self care all the time, like self care. One person's self care is getting your toast done. Another person's self care is eating a box of kicks, Twix,
Hmm. Hmm.
or Kit Kats. That's what I was trying to say, Kit Kats. But anyways, self care, is self care synonymous with mental health care or taking care of your mental health, or is there a blurred line, or what can you say to
Okay,
unpack
so
about
let's talk about self-care and what exactly it is. We hear the phrase so often these days that I don't even think that we know what it is. So I did a very small and unofficial study, posting to a Facebook group about what people thought that self-care was. And so overwhelmingly the answers were what you were just talking about, Kia. Like taking a, little chocolate break or going to get a manicure or things of that nature. So in Western culture, this sort of grind hard, no sleep culture is really polar opposite to what it means to live life as a whole healthy human. Okay, so day-to-day life is exhausting. So things like manicures, mimosas, and massages might look like something that are kind of a retreat from the heaviness of life. But I'm going to suggest that the things that people call self-care are actually aftercare. Their one time experiences, bubble baths and salon visits, or overindulgences in food or drugs or sex or entertainment or sleep or shopping. Actual self care is more like parenting of oneself. Actual self care is restful sleep, 6 to 8 hours a night, nutritive food, making sure your home is clean, cultivating community, some form of spirituality, whatever that is. Are you being stimulated mentally? Are you paying your bills on time? You know, Physical maintenance with doctor's appointments and such like that. Those are the things that are actual self care.
Wow. I didn't say it, but Hope did. She said self care is cleaning your house. That is so good. Oh my gosh. I am so convicted because my house is not the cleanest at this time. But okay, I think that was really good to clarify. I think that our culture has hijacked this word and
Mhm.
don't nobody know what it means.
Yeah.
Not even the people that are planning things with self-care embedded in the title. We don't know. It's like what? What is what? What is that? Okay. And I think, I've been kind of just looking at some things in terms of practical things that are daily habits that should be instituted into your life. For example, what is your go to bed routine?
Hmm.
Like taking a shower.
Yeah.
I forgot what it releases. I think it releases endorphins, or it releases something to signal to your body, hey,
Hmm.
time to chill out,
Hmm.
time to get ready to go to sleep, or getting off of your device like an hour before you
Hmm.
get ready to go to bed,
Hmm.
and maybe lighting a candle, maybe reading a book, all these things that would be self
Hmm.
care, your nighttime routine.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you drawing a line of distinction between what is aftercare and
Yeah.
what is self care. And those type of self care things, when put into place and done with repetition over time consistently,
Hmm.
could potentially be a good precursor
Hmm.
for needing to see a counselor at all.
Hmm.
We could be out of alignment, just period, as a person, um,
Absolutely.
because we don't have those type of ritualistic self care practices in place.
Hmm.
So, this has been good. I've been helped. Uh, I've been
Yeah.
helped and convicted. Thank you so much for telling me to clean
Hmm.
my house for self care. But unfortunately, our time has been cut short. Well, we only have one more thing. I'm going to go ahead and do this last question. The last question is just about
Yeah.
self help resources.
Yeah.
Um, and that's something you could do while you wait. I know I shared one last week that has been a benefit for me. It's called Mind Over Mood. It's a book by only word that's coming to my mind, only author's name is Podesky, Christine A. Podesky, or somebody probably blending these names, but Mind Over Mood. And then the other book I always reference is Healing the Child Within. But that's really for if you got some serious dysfunction in your background. So
Hmm.
everybody don't need that. But what are your thoughts on self help resources?
Well, that really speaks to what we were talking about earlier, about you really sort of taking control of your mental health. And while you wait for a therapist, go ahead and do some reading, listen to some podcasts and things of that nature. One of my favorite books is, I don't know if this is backwards or not, but The
Guide to
Unapologetic
Black
Guide to
Mental
Black
Health.
Mental Health. Life-changing book. A book like It Didn't Start With You. If you're thinking about trauma in your life and where it might have come from, most likely didn't just start with you. If you really don't even know how to identify feelings and or what anger really even is supposed to feel like, or the difference between guilt and shame, Brene Brown's book Atlas of the Heart. If you're not a reader, she has a series right now on HBO, I think. It's also accessible through Amazon. So there are things that people can do. I know that Anita Phillips recently,
Yes, The Garden Within. That's on
yeah,
my list. It's probably gonna be my next read.
yeah, yeah. So there are things available for free or nearly free, or not as much as a session with a counselor. Um, you mentioned the free resources that you talked about last time, Kia. Sometimes people don't even realize that their workplace may offer some options with an EAP program, and that's an employee assistance program. 6 to 8 sessions for free.
Yeah.
You know.
I think the common theme that I'm hearing, even with counseling and with what we're talking about what you can do if you can't see a therapist or you're on a wait list, is effort.
Mm.
Is effort. That there is a degree of effort that
Mhm.
has to be employed on our part. Whether that
Mhm.
effort is picking up the books that Hope just recommended, or that effort is putting into practice a nighttime routine, or that
Mhm.
effort is actually reading your Bible. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? Whether
Come on.
whether that effort is, or actually talking to God about the issues that you're experiencing in your life and see what does He have to say about it.
Mhm.
There is a degree of effort, and if in fact we do go to a counselor, we're not going to get the results we want to get from that $120, $160 if we don't apply some effort to
Because
our
the
action.
work happens between the sessions. The
Yeah.
session is just like a checkpoint. to check in, get some perspective, learn a few things, and then you go to work and making it happen in your life outside the session.
Okay, y'all didn't know Hope came up in here to preach today, but she did. She did come to preach. Okay, so there's some things that you and me we have to do. Hope, this has been so good. Thank you for giving us your time
Sure.
during this session. And I just want to just pray us out because it's just been such a rich time. So God, wherever we are, if we found a therapist, we're on a wait list, we're seeing a therapist, we want to see a therapist, or we're trying to figure out what we need to do in our on our own. God, I ask that you would help us, and that you would meet us. Most importantly, that you would meet us. Meet us if we're dealing with anxiety or shame or fear or regret or depression, or if we're grieving, God, wherever we are, you are the God that meets us in the middle of our mess. And so I'm asking you to do that. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Thank
Amen.
you, Hope. Thank you
Yeah,
for joining us. It's been
absolutely.
great. Okay.
Hmm.
Oh, did you say how people can connect with you before I get off?
Yeah, hopevanetta.com/therapy.
Okay, boom. There it is. All right, y'all. Take care.